but what you're saying is interesting because these depositions occurred after you wrote your report. And you're getting that from his deposition, is that right?
I did.
Do you understand that the testimony that you give today has the same force and effect as if you were before the judge and jury?
I do.
Would you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. It's a pleasure to talk with you, Dr. Stone.
Good to meet you.
Thank you. We can get started. Where are you from?
Well, I grew up in New Boston, just down the road, so just moved back home when I retired a year and a half ago.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I'm from Dallas. Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in New Boston High School.
And where'd you go to undergrad, college?
Undergrad was LeTourneau University.
Did you graduate there?
I did.
What was your degree in?
Bachelor's in Business Management.
Okay, and did that have any relation to law enforcement or constitutional rights?
No.
Okay, and then what field is your doctorate in?
In Public Affairs.
And where did you get that from?
University of Texas at Dallas.
Could you tell me a little bit about the topics that covers?
Yes, basically it's government, but everything from research methodology to the Constitution and law, from one spectrum to the other. But it's mainly geared toward people that are going to work in governments, specifically city managers or people that are going to teach government.
And what did they teach you about people's constitutional rights?
Well, I've clearly, before I went to college, I understood people's constitutional rights is that they're protected and we hold them up and follow the Constitution and protect citizens' rights as part of our duties as peace officers too.
And how'd you get into law enforcement?
Well, started when I was barely 21 years old. I'd taken a test in Tyler and I had a call to go to Athens PD and started at Athens PD as a police officer in 1974.
I see. So you were already a police officer when you got your doctorate?
Yes. Yes. I've been a police officer for a long time. I just continued to go to school.
So what departments have you worked as a police officer in?
Started in Athens, Texas in 74, Greenville Police Department in December of 75, and then Collin County Sheriff's Office in August of 85. And then I've been a reserve also at Wise County Sheriff's Office when I retired, and now I'm a full-time deputy sheriff, a lieutenant at Bowie County Sheriff's Office here in Texarkana.
Did you have a favorite department?
Well, I stayed at Collin County 36 years, so I guess that would have to be my favorite, but enjoyed working undercover as well too with DEA.
Okay, could you tell me a little bit about the certifications that you have?
Let's see. I've got quite a list of them, but I'll try to go from memory.
Sure.
I'm a master peace officer. I'm also a certified peace officer instructor. I'm a graduate of Bill Blackwood Law Enforcement Academy, which is an extensive academy, as well as the 189th session of the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Also graduated from the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, and just attended a lot of those types of training in schools.
What is a master peace officer?
The Master Peace Officer designation is really the highest level of training, experience, and education. You're designated with a certain number of each one of those, a Master Peace Officer.
And Could you tell me about your experience as a peace officer instructor? What did that involve?
I taught at the Collin County Law Enforcement Academy, subjects in arrest, search, and seizure, use of force, really a broad range over 10 years with the Collin County Law Enforcement Academy. And then for 14 years, I was an adjunct instructor at University of Texas at Dallas and taught various courses in Homeland Security, leadership, and law enforcement, different courses along that line.
Was it legal for Officer Dial to hit those signs?
Objection, Farm.
When you have an individual holding something up in front of them and you're interviewing that person, the officer has a right to search that person for weapons. So taking the signs away was an appropriate action for the protection of that officer and the other officers there involved to make sure he didn't have a weapon.
Do officers have the right to search anyone for weapons?
No, sir.
Why do they have the right
Not
to
without reasonable suspicion that a crime has been committed. It are the circumstances that an officer may stop and frisk and search someone for the protection of those officers.
If I'm holding some papers in my hand, does an officer have the right to knock them out of my hand?
Objection, Farm.
Well, how big are the papers? Are they 3x5 cards or big placards?
Are you saying that the size of the signs justified Dial hitting those signs?
The view of Knowles being able to hide a weapon behind him, he could remove those signs to search him and make sure he doesn't have a weapon.
Are you saying that it was reasonable to think that Knowles was hiding a weapon in between the signs in his hands?
No. He could have it on his person, not in his hands, on his person.
So why was it reasonable to hit the signs?
So he could see if there was a weapon or any view of a weapon.
So are you saying that he was looking for a weapon that was not in his hands?
Yes.
And that was reasonable to do?
Yes.
To your knowledge, when officers are conducting searches, do they always slap things out of your hands?
Objection, Farm.
In that situation, it was reasonable.
Why couldn't they search him for weapons without knocking the signs out of his hands?
Objection, Farm.
He was uncooperative. He wouldn't even show him the signs.
Would it be reasonable to visually inspect his person for weapons?
That's exactly what he did.
Is that right?
He removed an object that obstructed his view of the majority of the person's body.
Could he have changed his vantage point to get a different view?
Objection, Farm.
Well, it asked to see the signs, and the individual, they had reasonable suspicion that a crime had been committed. Well, therefore, they had the justification for search, and the signs were blocking the view. They're big enough that he could have a weapon in his waistband or anywhere else. So that's my basis for that opinion.
But you just said that he hit those signs to search for weapons, correct?
Well, what I was saying that was the purpose of getting the signs out of his hand would be my position on it.
How do you know that that was the purpose?
Well, when I interviewed him, he told me that he had knocked the signs away, or he was concerned about the person having a weapon.
You're saying that Dial told you that he hit those signs to search for weapons. Is that right?
Well, I don't know whether it was inferred or we had a discussion about it. Anyhow, I believe that's the reason that he hit the signs.
Did he tell you that's the reason he hit the signs?
I did read it in his deposition that we just had gotten recently. He had mentioned that, so that's where I got that.
So he didn't tell you that when you talked to him?
No, I think that's where I got it, was reading it in the deposition.
Did you ask him when you talked to him why he hit the signs?
No, I didn't.
Did you think that was relevant to your opinion in your report?
No, I didn't.
You're saying that you didn't think that it was important to your opinion in this report whether Dial had a legal foundation for hitting those signs?
Not that I could see. I mean, we don't need a legal reason to knock a sign from somebody's hand. Well, I don't understand that question.
Do you need a legal reason to hit a sign?
No, other than to search. I mean, that's what he said was his intent. But an officer can take whatever action they think is necessary to search or protect themselves or the others that are at that scene.
Well, what you're saying is interesting because these depositions occurred after you wrote your report. And you're getting that from his deposition, is that right?
I did.
Not from the call with him.
I don't think I asked him about it in the call.
Is it right that you think that Dial had the legal right to knock the signs out of Null's hands?
Legal right when it comes to an officer's discretion at a scene, that's at the officer's discretion. And
Did Dial have the right?
I don't know what would be illegal about removing the signs for whatever reason if they're there doing an investigation.
Is it reasonable for Dial to have hit the signs to be able to read the signs?
Objection. Thorne.
Yes, I think it's reasonable that he knocked the signs if he wanted to read the signs.
Would the contents of the signs made a difference in this case?
Quite possibly. Once they saw what the signs were saying and the people were complaining about the vulgar language, and so it's the totality of that. But they were there investigating complaints, and one of the complaints the complaint was the signs and the vulgar language on the signs.
What force did Winston Knowles use?
6'2", 300 pounds. And he's told to turn around, he's going to be handcuffed, he falls to the ground. Force can be described, if he fell to the ground, he weighs 300 pounds and 6'2", he was using force to resist.
But the statute requires the use of force against the peace officer. Otherwise, it's not resisting. Do you agree?
If the officer is attempting to arrest that person and they weigh 300 pounds and fall to the ground, they're resisting.
So you're saying that even though this statute requires the use of force against the peace officer, you're saying that if the person falls to the ground, they're resisting?
Absolutely, I'm saying that.
Does this clause, by using force against the peace officer, have any meaning to you?
Does it have any? Yes, it does. It's a measure. Now, force doesn't mean hitting the officer. He's resisting by falling to the ground.
How did he use that force? How did Winston Knowles use his force against the peace officer?
The officer was attempting to put handcuffs on him. He told him to turn around and put his handcuffs, and he fell to the ground, avoiding transportation.
So he didn't
And the
comply.
officer he didn't comply with the officer's order, and he fell to the ground and resisted. He could have fallen into a hole, and that would have been resisting.
Did you ask Short why he moved the tripod?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said that he thought that the suspect was going to be arrested, and that there was an area by the tripod that was wet and muddy, and he moved it to the side where he wouldn't step in the mud if he needed to assist.
And so you're saying that it was reasonable for him to move that tripod to make space for him to assist?
That's what he said, yes.
And
And I think that's reasonable.
did you ask Short if he knew what was on the tripod?
He told me that he learned later that it was a cell phone on the tripod.
But did you ask him when you talked to him if he knew what was on it during the arrest?
I believe he just told me that he thought that he saw it was a cell phone. He did, or that he moved it at the time. He didn't know it was a cell phone, but I'm trying to recall. He wasn't sure what it was, but he was just, I think he told me he thought it was a light on a tripod.
Do you think it was reasonable that he thought it might be a light?
I don't know I don't know. But yeah, I would say if you're there and you're watching a person and you're there backing someone up, you're more focused on that than you are an object that's potentially in your way.
Your report reads here that after looking closer at the device, he noticed it had a black case attached to it. Did you
Yes.
follow up with him about what he thought that black case might mean?
Yeah, I think he thought it might be a phone, but he didn't think the phone that it was recording.
Did he tell you that he thought it might be a phone?
When I talked to him, that it had been alleged that the device was a cell phone videoing the location where Mr. Knowles was standing. Officer Short did not see any indication that the device was recording, but was aware that the contact with Mr. Knowles was being videoed and so forth.
But do you agree that cameras are often on tripods?
I know they are from time to time, but it's not always what's on a tripod. But yeah.
So you don't associate tripods with cameras, is that what you're saying?
No.
If Short had known that day that that was a camera on the tripod, would it have been reasonable to move it?
You know, it would always be better if he didn't move it, if he knew it was a camera recording. I don't think we should do that.
And why is that?
Well, because it's if they're recording something, they have a right to do that.
If Short suspected that it could be a camera, but he didn't know for sure, would it be reasonable for him to move it?
Objection, Thorne.
No.
So are you saying that if he thought it might be a camera, it would be unreasonable to move?
Yeah, I would think it would be better not to, yeah.
Okay. Are you planning to testify at trial in this case?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's it.